Good evening, Marie-Françoise Lantieri. You prepared this report for I-24 News. I see we have with us Amir Badran. Good evening.
Good evening.
You are a lawyer and the son of a mixed couple, of a Jewish mother and a Muslim father.
That's true.
Thank you for being with us tonight to discuss, actually to speak about your film, which we've actually seen and of which we'll see a clip in a moment. First of all, however, a question. Was it not difficult to make such a film in Israel?
Yes, it was very difficult. First of all, to find a mixed couple who would agree to share their experience with us, even if to only tell their story over the phone. That was not easy, and many refused to tell their story in front of a camera. There were quite a few as well who avoided doing so at the last minute. Therefore, it wasn't at all easy to find people who would agree to tell their story. The subject is a sensitive one.
You finally did it with 4 mixed couples, whom you filmed during several weeks. We'll show a clip right now, and we'll discuss it together afterwards.
The Israeli street, colorful and lively, represents the varied cultures of people living there. There are, of course, Jews and Arabs, but also many Druze, Bedouins, and Cherkessans, as well as immigrants from other countries. Yet many of these communities live in separate towns or neighborhoods. The sense of group identity is very strong, and interfaith marriages are rare, and rather poorly accepted. Yet 13% of Israeli couples take the plunge every year. What challenges do they face, and how do they surmount them? The story we're going to tell features 4 such couples.
He is different. He has a different mentality and a different sense of humor. That's what attracted me. At the same time, we felt so good together that we got into this relationship without thinking about what was going to happen later.
Dizengoff Street in Tel Aviv, walking down the street, people look at us strangely, as if they were seeing aliens. At first it was a bit difficult, and then I said to myself, all right, they are not used to seeing a mixed couple.
My father did not consent to this. Neither did my mother. It was a bit difficult for them. I told them to stop. This was my destiny.
Do you feel Jewish?
No, the truth is that with Jews, I feel Jewish, and I feel Arab with Arabs.
Yehuda is a rabbi in Beersheba. The youngest of his daughters, Chen, went to live with a Bedouin 7 years ago. His relationship with her is very antagonistic. He often approaches the village hoping to reconnect with her.
I cannot marry your daughter? Why? I can marry her? There are quite a few who do this. No, things like that don't happen. Jews cannot marry Arab girls.
The rabbi's son-in-law drew closer to Islam and no longer wants Yehuda to see the children.
I still think of her as a 3-year-old. She's my daughter, my baby. She must return, sit with me and talk. I'm not asking her to beg forgiveness, just to come.
Amir's mother is Jewish, his father is Cherkessan, a Muslim Caucasian, people who reached Palestine 100 years ago. They're both Israelis, but early on decided to settle in the United States, fleeing their family's hostility.
Both my parents were very connected to their families, so I grew up both Jewish and Cherkessi. I consider myself both. Religiously, a little bit more Jewish than anything else because my mom, it was important to her.
Mila's family is Jewish and strictly religious. The young couple insisted their marriage take place in both traditions, Jewish and Cherkessan. Cherkessans are Muslims. They became intermingled with the religious Jewish family of Mila. Yael and Kone, Helen and Ahmed, the daughter of Yehuda and her husband Ibrahim, Amir and Mila. 4 unions in joy, but also in pain. 4 Israeli love stories. They tell about how difficult it is to face the gaze of others, sometimes rejection, but also the search for peace and harmony traversing this society. A society torn between tradition and modernity, religion and secularism, withdrawal and tolerance.
Marie-Françoise Lantieri, What mixed couple did you choose to show in this report?
In this report, we chose to show mixed couples inside Israeli society among the different communities in Israel: Druze, Bedouin, Israeli Arabs, Christian Arabs, Jews, Circassians. But many others exist, among them Jews, Israelis, Israeli Arabs, and people from other countries that met during a tour, a trip to Israel.
Therefore, we can already determine what's meant by a mixed couple.
Yes, well, we can actually apply a number to how many mixed couples there are. It is true that it is a bit difficult in Israel to obtain numbers from the statistics department to evaluate the extent of the phenomenon. What we can try and do is obtain a number by evaluating the number of marriages that took place abroad, since, as you know, in Israel it is not possible to hold a civil ceremony. Marriages held in Israel are religious marriages, and mixed couples can only get married abroad, and most of the time these marriages are held in Cyprus. For the moment, the number we have for 2012 shows that about 13% of mixed couples go abroad to get married. And in 2012, there were 6,000 mixed couples married in Cyprus, and of these 6,000, only 16 between Jews and Arabs, and of these 16, only 3 had to do with an Arab woman marrying a Jew. To this number can be added the number of conversions, notably of Jews converting to Islam, since generally those conversions are carried out in order to be able to get married in Israel. One can see that the number is very small, that in Israel it is a rather minor phenomenon.
What do we know about the young people who choose a partner from another religion?
Well, I have not studied sociology, but through my research, what I saw was, through the stories I read here and there, the people I met, I could distinguish 3 types of people. The first is a couple who know each other, meet each other through extreme left, militant associations, communist movements. The second type is young, very young, 15 years old, young girls who often have broken off with their family. And the third group I myself saw were young people from the city, some of the Israeli intelligentsia, found in professions such as stage directors, journalists. Of course, no case is ever the same. Maybe Amir
Badran is with us. You're a lawyer and the result of a mixed couple, of a Jewish mother and a Muslim father. Does your family fit these conditions?
My case does not fit this profile. I have to say that there is not an exact profile that determines what a mixed couple is. The definition also varies, depending from where the couple comes. If we talk about Israel, we talk about a mixture of religions, Arabs and Jews. If we're referring to outside of Israel, we may be talking about race or skin color. In my case, my father, for example, was a young secular man who came from the periphery. He came here to Jaffa, to Tel Aviv, to the metropolitan, the big city, to work. He met my mother when visiting a couple of friends in Tel Aviv that were also a mixed couple.
À Tel Aviv, ma mère elle est d'origine irakienne, elle a fait son juive. Elle est juive d'origine irakienne.
My mother comes from Iraq. She made Aliyah when she was 3 years old. She was very young. She grew up in Ramat Gan in a neighborhood that was neither religious, let's say not too secular, but not ultra-Orthodox, somewhat religious, and had no more than about 10 years of education between them.
Ils se sont rencontrés. Ils ont tous les deux à peu près 10 ans d'études, pas plus.
However, what was important was to continue to live together, and each one had to make concessions. It wasn't obvious. I can say that my mother, to make things easier, she understood that with her own family, her closest circle, it was very difficult because they did not accept the situation. And one has to say, speaking of 45, 50 years back, so if today it is difficult, imagine what it must have been like 50 years ago for the large social circle.
Aujourd'hui, c'est déjà difficile, imaginez 50 ans avant. Et puis, pour que la société c'est le cercle un peu plus vaste.
She understood she had to convert to Islam in order to get married, to be recognized by the state as a married woman, and not to have to travel to Cyprus or somewhere else. And at the same time, for me, for my brother and sisters, for them to have an identity and not be caught between two worlds. This was very important for her. My father understood it was necessary to do that, and understood that the task she had, and let her have her space. True, you converted to Islam, but you can practice your religion as a Jew.
Il faut faire ça, il faut comprendre cette tâche qu'elle a fait, et en même temps, il a laissé l'espace dire, voilà, c'est vrai.
You do what you want. You have your traditions. You fast on Kippur, light the Shabbat candles.
Tu as tes coutumes, tu jeûnes le Kippour. Tu allumes les nérodes de Shabbat.
C'est intéressant ce que vous dites.
I understand what you're saying, but this is not the way Lahava, an extremist religious organization, sees it, trying to prevent such marriages, even by force if necessary, as we saw last summer. Have a look.
It was supposed to be the happiest day of their lives, but instead the wedding of Mahmoud Mansour and Moral Malka is at the center of the latest raging dispute to grip Israel.
I want to live my life without anyone interfering. Continue life as I live them today. I'm happy and hope all our guests will arrive and there won't be any friction.
21-year-old Moral decided to convert from Judaism to Islam and marry Mahmoud after 5 years together. But their decision to publish their wedding invitation on the web and celebrate in a large Jewish city in the center of Israel generated anger and objection. A radical right-wing organization called Lahava, Flame, which calls to stop the intermarriage between different religions, has decided to protest against the wedding at the wedding.
I have nothing personal against Moral and Mahmoud, but we are the Jewish people, and this is a case of assimilation. We're gradually killing the Jewish people by assimilation, and this is our protest against it.
Earlier Sunday, a court order allowed the demonstration to take place outside the wedding hall, but even Israeli President Reuven Rivlin acknowledged the couple's right to unite.
A red line has been crossed between freedom of speech and incitement. Mahmoud and Moral from Jaffa decided to get married. The incitement against them is worrying. Not everyone needs to rejoice with them, but everyone needs to respect them.
A mixed marriage between a Muslim Arab and a Jewish woman isn't a new phenomenon in Israel. According to New Family NGO, in the past 50 years, the number of mixed marriages between Jews and non-Jews has increased by 200%, and today 1 out of every 10 couples living in Israel is a mixed couple. A survey they conducted showed that 35% of secular Israelis object to a mixed marriage, and 95% of religious Jews would not like to see a marriage between a Jew and a non-Jew take place. But not only Lahava is demanding the wedding be called off. Life-threatening messages and police orders have obliged Mansour to hire some 30 bodyguards to protect the couple and their guests, whose only wish is to celebrate love and unity in a country ridden with seemingly endless inner conflicts.
Marie-Françoise Lantieri, how are these marriages received by Israeli society?
They are not very well received. A survey carried out by last summer showed that 75% of Jews and 65% of Arabs would refuse to marry someone from another religion, and that 72% of Jews who were asked stated that if a member of their family wanted to marry a person of another religion, they would try to discourage him or her. This decreased to 53% in cases where the partner was a non-Arab Christian. With Muslims, 52% of the persons surveyed did not approve of a family member marrying a non-Muslim. What is also observed is that this varies according to the type of marriage involved. This means that if a Jewish woman marrying a non-Jew, a Muslim for example, as we saw in the report, it is generally well received. The Muslim Arab communities will quite readily accept men who marry a Jewish woman. However, when it involves an Arab woman, the idea of a woman marrying a non-Muslim is inconceivable and badly received by the Muslim family.
Amir Badran, it's not easy to live here in Israel when one is the son of a mixed marriage couple.
Well, when one is the son of a mixed couple, 2 phases are involved, I think. The first phase is when you are a young child. That is when you feel the rejection, a real rejection, by 2 societies that are in conflict. The Jewish society, for Jews as a child, I'm an Arab, and for Arabs, I'm a Jew.
Yet you are a real Jew and an Arab at the same time.
It's true. As a child, it is very difficult to deal with this. One needs the support of one's parents. This manner, this line of sight that guides us, which gives us answers to stupid and bothersome questions. When you're a child, and that can give you hope to continue. What is more interesting is when you become an adult. As an adult, you take the lack you endured as a child and rebuild it. It becomes an asset of force, a widening of horizons. To be able to understand these two worlds in a precise and exact manner, allowing us to expand our thinking, our actions, and speak of peace in a place where so much want to speak of peace and love.
Thank you very much, Amir Badran, for having joined us here. Thank you, Marie-Françoise Lantieri, for having prepared this fine report for I-24 News. Thank you to our viewers as well. I'll see you next week for a new report. The magazine's editorial staff of I-24 News thanks you as well. Goodbye.